And so now, before we start, I would just like to say that if anybody wanted to see this article on a church rocks as the drums roll, the Presbyterian minister here are leading his congregation in rock and roll, a program for the sacrament. Let me just see just a minute. Youthful members swing out to jazz passion play tells of the crucifixion in modern IDIOM rock and roll. The pastor here leading all the teenagers up there and going through the passions of Christ, the crucifixion, played out in rock and roll and jazz. Well, this is Maryland. Now, isn't that something? And then here is the picture of those, I was telling you this morning, of those Beatles, the return of Beatles. And there's the articles, you just should read it, out of the magazine, and all of the different things, as it were had founded a new religion. Now, their manager, I've got a note out of the paper here. You haven't got time. If anybody wants to read these, or I can put them on the bulletin board, then you can read them. I just want to show you the hour that we're living in. It's shocking. You might not understand it, but people try to understand it, that what these things are. I've asked Brother Capps, he's got a good education and can read better than I. I've asked him to read this article from the manager of the Beatles. You do it, Brother Capps?
States that the Beatles wonder about themselves and draw no answers. It's incredible, absolutely incredible, says Derek Taylor, the Beatles press officer. Here are these four boys from Liverpool. They're rude, they're profane, they're vulgar, and they've taken over the world. It's as if they'd founded a new religion. They're completely anti-Christ. I mean, I'm antichrist as well, but they're so antichrist they shock me, which isn't an easy thing. But I'm obsessed with them. Isn't everybody? I'm obsessed with their honesty, and the people who like them most are the people who should be outraged most. In Australia, for example, each time we'd arrive at an airport, it was as if de Gaulle had landed, or better yet, the Messiah. The routes were lined solid. Cripples threw away their sticks. Sick people rushed up to the car as if a touch from one of the boys would make them well again. Old women stood watching with their grandchildren as we'd pass by. I could see the look on their faces. It was as if some Savior had arrived, and all these people were happy and relieved, as if things somehow were going to be better now. Taylor paused and stuck a cigarette in his mouth. The only thing left for the Beatles, he said, is to go on a healing tour.
Isn't that what he said? Many shall come to me in that day and say, Lord, have not I? See? Now, can't you see that you can't put your trust in healing campaigns? You can't put your trust in any kind of a sign like that. The only thing you can put your trust in is, thus saith the Lord from the Bible. Now, church, that is exactly where I have tried to keep you, my children. And if something happens to me, and God takes me out of this earth, don't you never fail. Remember this with all your heart. Stay with that Word. Don't you leave that Word. Anything contrary to it, leave it alone. No matter what it is, then you know it's right. See? A healing campaign now. Sinful man that even shocked their own managers with their vulgar and dirt and filth. And people throw away their crutches and get healed by looking at these boys. It's so filthy and dirty and antichrist. You see, it's Satan on a mock campaign. See, he does anything that the Christ can do, but he can't confirm the Word. He'll take part of it here and part of it here, but he can't take it all together. See, he can't get it together. So you see, no wonder the Bible said that it would almost fool the very elected if it was possible. The Antichrist spirit. Even their own press manager here, press agent, he's for him, believes in him, and said he's possessed of the same thing because they've won him over. Them evil things. Now don't you see, women, why I am trying to tell you about this short wearing, hair cutting, bobbing and things? It's a spirit. It is a spirit. Here it is right in our leading magazines and everything of what's showing out rock and roll and stuff in the church. Why, it's a setup exactly for Satan. And there's still churches and denominations. Back to the Word, children, as fast as you can go. Don't you dare to leave it. You stay right with that Word. See how that antichrist spirit, it can speak in tongues, it can show signs and wonders, it can heal the sick, it can do all these things. See, them people thinking they're approaching God. Them boys are God sent because the church has let down on the Word. Those boys belong to church. Elvis Presley is a Pentecostal. Pat Boone is a Church of Christ. Look at them guys. Pentecostals, Church of Christ, and all those like that with them evil spirits on them. Red Foley, a golden voice. Church of Christ, sing the religious songs like nobody can sing them and rock and roll in the next voice. By their fruits you know them. Look what churches they belong to. Elvis Presley and members of the Assemblies of God. There you are. Each one of them wanted that, and Satan give it to them. Don't you see, friends, how? Don't let loose of that word. See, it's a spirit that gets on you. Now I tell these women, when they make themselves look sexy in these dresses, that God's going to make you answer for committing adultery? If you believe me to be what you say, God's servant, a prophet, listen to what I'm telling you. See, you might not be able to understand it, and if you can't, then you just do what I tell you to do. God will hold me responsible for what I say. See? You listen real close, and remember that those things are spirit. Ordinarily, maybe the person don't. You remember God covered with skin I preached on not long ago? See? God with skin on it? Now just remember, some of us are sent to this world to break into these realms to tell us these things. See? It's the foreknowledge. It's God speaking, showing when you judge anything by the flesh, why they're innocent. Look here. Fine people, honest, wouldn't tell you a lie or nothing. And the whole thing is the devil. Religious, even starting a healing campaign. See? Just exactly Antichrist. See? There's Presbyterian and all that. You see them denominations, how they do right the same thing. Well, here in London, England, just recently, they had a rock and roll team to impersonate Christ and Judas and all that. And they called Christ Daddy-O and talked all those words them crazy kids talk. See, the teenage kids took over the world. Now, you know that the Bible predicts that. Unthankful, unholy, without natural affections, truce breakers, false accusers, disobedient to parents. Teenage taking over the world. And it's done it. I went into a place the other day, they was playing this one of these old dirty jukeboxes, all that stuff. I didn't even want to take my family out. I said to that lady, how much does them records cost? 10 cents a piece. How many will it play in an hour? She told me. I said, here's the money, unplug it. Well, she said, I couldn't do that. Them kids come in here to play that. Then I couldn't spend no money there. I went somewhere else. See? Well, that stuff that make you nervous, you'd have to go down and get a bunch of tranquilizers to see after hearing the crazy stuff. That just irks a Christian. If you like that kind of stuff, you know what's wrong with you? You need to get saved. Because what's in you is feeding on something besides the Word. It's feeding on... You couldn't imagine Jesus doing a thing like that, could you? Could you imagine one of the prophets doing such a thing? Don't you see, fans? The whole thing all over is the devil. And the Bible said how he would come in form of religion and do just exactly like the Christ. See? But the only way you'll ever be able to tell is not join this church or join that church, is stay with the Word. He is the Word.
But in the days of the voice of the seventh angel, when he shall begin to sound, the mystery of God should be finished, as he hath declared to his servants the prophets.